Hello and welcome to Lean Six Sigma Green Belt, the measure phase. As we know, this training would be driven using Minita, which is a statistical tool which is graphical user interface. It'll be extremely easy for you to navigate using Minita. Going to the basics of measure phase. Right from our birth until we die, we keep measuring. The moment you are born, your weight is measured. And you're classified as a healthy baby or underweight baby or overweight baby. As in how you grow, your height is measured. Once you join school, your marks are measured and then you're graded accordingly. Once you join your job, your salary is measured. In order to get hike in your salary, your performance is measured. As in how you grow, your body mass index is measured. Your girlfriend measures your bank balance. And your wife is going to measure your wallet weight. And if you feel that while you sleep, you're at peace, then think about these wearable devices. And this wearable devices image which I've posted is from Jawbone. Jawbone users around the world have recorded more than 130 million nights of sleep, which technically makes it the biggest sleep study in the world. Jawbone has also measured 1.6 trillion steps which people have taken and 180 million items of food which people have consumed. And this makes this study extremely important. Look at what things are measuring, right? Your sleeping patterns while you sleep is also measured. If you're extremely intelligent, your brain strength is also measured in terms of IQ. And before we get into the measure phase, remember this, y is equal to f of x. This is the heart and soul of Six Sigma. This equation is the heart and soul of Six Sigma. Y stands for output, and any output which you want to achieve is dependent on a function of inputs. It can probably depend only on one input, or it might depend on a function of inputs. Yeah, hence we say y is equal to f of x. And in measure phase, we are going to measure the y. We are going to measure the output. We will measure this output and say, this is what I am doing at this point of time. This is how I fared at this point of time. At the end of measure phase, you would be able to say that before even implementing Six Sigma project, before even bringing about improvements, your sigma level is at 2 sigma or 3 sigma or 4 sigma or 3.8 sigma or 4.2 sigma, something on these lines. You baseline the current performance. You baseline the current output. What is happening as of now, right? What is your performance as of now? From there, you actually do an improvement, and post improvement, once again, you're going to identify what is your sigma level. And then you'll say, hey, do you know what? Even before improvement in the measure phase, my process was operating at 3 sigma level. Post improvement, now I could achieve 6 sigma, or probably 4.5 sigma, or 5 sigma maybe, right? So in order to say this, you will have to baseline your current performance. Otherwise, how can you say that you have done some improvement? What is the outcome of that improvement? How would you quantify that? You quantify it because you're going to baseline your performance in the measure phase. All right, let us move on and look into what are the topics which we are going to look into. We will get started with central limit theorem, by far the most important theorem from statistics perspective. We will look into 3 steps of the measure phase. We will quickly introduce or learn about the introduction to the measure phase. We will define critical to quality performance characteristics. We will look into the measurement system analysis. How do I ensure that the measurement system is reliable? I need to collect the data and I want to make sure that the measurement system which I have is robust, is foolproof. Within that, we are going to look into a technique called attribute agreement analysis. We are also going to look into the current performance measurement, either using sigma level for continuous data and attribute data. We'll look into the various scenarios. We have 3 scenarios, by the way. We'll look into all. Then we will move on to look into the process capability indices. We'll look into CP, CPK, what does each value mean, how to calculate that and all that. Then we'll move on to discuss about yield. We will look into traditional yield, we will look into first time yield, and also we will look into rolled throughput yield. And then we will summarize and close the session. All right, folks. So let us get started. Central limit theorem. I've taken this excerpt from this particular source. You can read it at your own leisure. But let me explain in my own words. Whenever you want to do some analysis on the data, you would never get access to the entire population. Think about Apple, right? Say Apple wants to do a quick survey and find out from iPhone 6 users on what are the features they dislike and what are the features that they want in the upcoming iPhone 7 model. What would you do? How would you go about gathering the data? How would you go about collecting the data? Right? You would obviously not get sufficient time and money and the funding part to go and ask each and every iPhone 6 user on what are the features they dislike, what are the features they want in the upcoming model. That is not possible. It would probably take 10 years or so if you want to gather the data from all iPhone 6 users. Right? And by the time you reach the end of the analysis, there would be iPhone 15 or 16 going on in the market. It would become irrelevant for you. Right? Hence, what do? We pick up a small sample, some sample, and simple random sampling is the best known sampling technique by far. You can also tend to or opt to use statistical sampling, but it all depends, right? But simple random sampling is the best known sampling technique by far. All right. So what do? You quickly randomly pick few people from the entire population of iPhone 6 users. And then you start analyzing data on top of that. While you analyze, it is extremely important for you to know what is the distribution that the data follows. What is the probability distribution which the data follows? And most of the techniques would assume that the data follows normal distribution, which is Welker, or which is also called as Gaussian distribution. G-A-U-S-I-N, Gaussian distribution. All right. Now, suppose your population follows uniform distribution. How does a uniform distribution looks like? It looks like this. Uniform. All the bars are uniform. Suppose your population follows uniform distribution, and suppose I'm picking up a sample from this population. According to central limit theorem, no matter what distribution my population follows, if my sample size increases significantly, data would always follow normal distribution. Look at this now. N is equal to 1 here. It is like uniform distribution. When n is equal to 2, it's somewhat triangular distribution. When n is equal to 3, it is tending towards normal distribution. When n is equal to 4, number of samples by and n is equal to 5, now it follows a beautiful normal distribution, right? So that is your central limit theorem. It says that no matter what distribution my population follows, if the sample size is large enough, the data tends to follow normal distribution. That's the beauty of central limit theorem. So you can just assume that the data follows normal distribution and move on with your analysis, provided your number of samples are good enough. All right. So this is extremely important, which distribution your data follows, and because your entire analysis would depend on what distribution the data follows. Okay. Here are the 3 steps of measure phase, which we will discuss in detail, by the way. Define critical to quality performance characteristics. We will look into the measurement system analysis, and we will also look into the current performance measurement. Let us move on and discuss a few more things now. Okay, we are moving on. Why is the screen not moving? All right, here's the measure phase. What is a measure? A number or quantity that records as directly observable value of performance. Here are a few examples. Length of time, probably speed or age of a person. You can also measure size in terms of length, height, weight. You may want to measure cost, sales revenue, profits. Counts of characteristics or attributes are also measured. What is the property size? What is the gender? Male, female, so on and so forth. Counts of defects, number of errors, number of complaints, right? So you tend to measure all these. It can be a number or a quantity that records a directly observable value of performance. Right? Why do you need to measure? I need to measure because I want to baseline the current performance. What is my current performance? How am I operating now? This will also help you prioritize the actions and whether or not to take some action. Only if I measure, I can do these kind of analysis. Prioritization of actions can be done. Only if I measure, I will be able to justify the magnitude of problem and the changes in the process based on the magnitude of the problem. You will also be able to predict the future performance. There are a lot of dating applications, right, which people use in Western world especially. There are a lot of dating websites, dating applications, right? These dating applications can predict your match on who is the right match for you based on your gender, based on your location, geographical location, based on your body characteristics, based on your orientation, and what you have been searching all the while. Systems have become extremely important because people are measuring things, right? And what are the few steps, first few steps in data collection plan? What do you need to do? What you know about your process and where to find measure points, right? You need to first find out this. Do you even know your process thoroughly? Where do you find the measurement points? Where do you get these measurements from? What data are you planning to baseline? Right? You have a problem at hand, but What is the data which is required to be baseline for that particular problem? What are few of the upstream factors which might affect the process or problem? What are the other factors which might impact your problem or the process? You need to look into that as well. What do we plan to do with the data once it is gathered? Obviously, you will have to do some analysis. But what analysis are you planning to perform? That is extremely important here. Let us move on and understand what and where do you want to measure. So this is the most important part, preparing the cyborg diagram. We have discussed about this in defined fields: supplier, input, process, output, and customer. Right? You prepare the cyborg diagram, and a more detailed process map can actually help a team select what you want to measure. And choosing good measures requires that you have extremely clear understanding of the definitions and what is the relationship between inputs, process, and then outputs. You need to know that. Look at this diagram. There is an input in the form of an insect. There is a process which happens inside the hen put, and you have the output, which is egg, right? That's a process. I have an input, there is a process, and then I have an output. Look at this. Inputs and process. X. X stands for predictor or input variable. Another name for input variable is predictor. These are leading indicators because even before my output is generated, I have a chance to tweak my inputs and process and get the desired output. So whatever work I perform on X is before something is delivered, before something is accomplished. Hence, these are called as leading indicators. On the other side of the spectrum, we have Y, which is output variable. Another name for this is response variable. These are called as lagging indicators. Why do you call these as lagging indicators, by the way? Because once I have an output, I can't do much. I cannot take much corrective actions, right? Or if something has gone wrong, I'll have to rework, redo things here. It's waste of effort, energy, right? So I'm not given sufficient time to ensure that I take corrective actions. Only if something goes wrong, I'll come to know that it has gone wrong. Hence, it is called as lagging indicator, right? So your process measures refer to as X variables in data, right? Sorry, your process measures here. So let's first discuss about input measures. Input measures refer to as X variables in the data, quantify your quality, they quantify the speed at which you're working, and they quantify your cost performance of information, or items which are coming into the process. It quantifies the items which are coming into the process. Usually, input measures will focus on effectiveness. Does the input meet the needs of the process? Yes or no? Right? You get to know about such information. Process measures are also referred to as X variables in the data. This also quantifies the quality, it quantifies the speed and the cost performance at key points in the process. Some process measures will be subsets of output measures. For example, cycle time per step. If you're trying to identify cycle time for each step of the process, and if you add the entire cycle time of each and every process step, you would get the total cycle time, right? And worthwhile Process and input measures provide an early warning of problems and are key to finding root causes. And it also helps you catch problems before they become serious. That's the most important part. All right, now let us look into the first step of the measure phase, which is called as define CTQ, critical to quality performance characteristics. We'll have to define this now. All right, let us look into this example. You more or less on a daily basis commute to work, right? And while you commute to work, what is the critical thing that you look into? Reducing the time taken to reach office, right? You might want to probably take a different route, a different vehicle, a different time to reach office early. That is if you're in your initial days of your career, at least that is what you tend to do, right? If you're measuring the arrival time, then what is the data type? Is it continuous or discrete? Time is always continuous. Why is it called as continuous? I can say I've reached office in 1 hour, or I can say I've reached office in 60 minutes, or I can say I've reached office in 1 hour, 1 minute, or I can say I've reached office in 60 or 1 minute, or I can even put that into seconds, right? 3,600 seconds, or I can go to any precision level that I want. I can go to any decimal level that I want. It is still going to make sense for me, right? No matter how much I divide the continuous data, it's still going to make sense for me. Now, that is called as data type, right? Unit of measure, how do you want to measure the time taken to reach office? If you're at your junior level, probably you'll measure the time taken to reach office in minutes. You want to quickly reach office, get the job done. The moment you climb up the ladder, the moment you become manager, you start measuring your unit of measure in hours. You're not so bothered about reaching the office in minutes. Probably you want to reach the office in hours. That's okay for you. If you become vice president, probably you'll measure your unit of measure in days, right? Even if it takes days to reach the office, that's fine for me. Now I'm vice president of the organization, right? The moment you get into a CXO position, probably you'll measure this in months or quarters or years, right? So time taken to reach the office really doesn't matter for a CXO, right? He works from anywhere. Right? All right, jokes apart, unit of measure is something that you have to identify upfront. And then you have operational definition. We'll look into operational definition using this example, and then we'll see a few more examples because this is extremely important. If I ask you a question on how much time do you take to reach office from your home, what would you say? Probably you'll say 15 minutes or 20 minutes. That's fine. But how are you measuring the time? From your parking lot in your apartment to the parking lot in your office? Is that the start and end time? Or right from your doorstep till the time you log into your system in your cabin? Is that the time which you're measuring and saying, this is the time which I take to reach office? Or what is it? If you want to compare two people's time taken, if you ask person A and person B on how much time they take to arrive office, different people might have different definitions, right? One person might say, I measure it right from the time I put on my tie till the time I connect my laptop and log into my machine. That's the start and end time. Based on that, I'm going to derive my time taken to reach office. Some other person might say, no, from the time I start the car till the time I switch off my car in office. That would be the start and end time definition for me, right? So different people might measure differently. In order to ensure that everyone measures it in a similar fashion, you have this operational definition in place. You also put your specification limits. You might say that I want to be in office not before 10 minutes and not greater than 20 minutes. So it should be anywhere between 10 to 20 minutes. But I also target always to reach by 15 minutes. That's my target which I want to achieve. Fine. Yep. Look at this rugby ball. Think about this. You ask a person on what is the circumference of the rugby ball. A person might say it's 58 to 62. 58 to 62, I do not see that number here. It's 580 to 620. So what is the unit of measure that you're using? Then that person might say I'm using centimeters. Oh, now if I convert that into millimeters, this number would come up. All right, whatever you have told is fine. If you ask some other person what is the circumference of rugby ball, he might say it's 23 to 24 inches. Now we are again surprised, right? If he does not use this unit of measure, you'll be surprised, keenly surprised. Would say 23 to 24, I do not see that number anywhere. And then you'll ask me, how are you measuring it? What is the unit of measure? Then he says it's inches. Oh, all right. If I convert inches into millimeters, 23 to 24 inch would be 580 to 620 mm. That's fine. So depending on what you're measuring and how you're measuring, things change, right? So unit of measure is also extremely important. Now let us go to operational definition. This is extremely important. We have looked into that briefly in our commuting to office example. Let us discuss this now. Who is this person? It's Usain Bolt, the reigning running champion, right? He wins almost all the races, right? 100-meter dash, 200-meter dash, 400-meter dash. I think he's going to beat anyone on the planet. So let me ask you this question. What is the start time for an athlete to start running a 100-meter dash or a 100-meter race? You all might have seen Olympics, right? You all might have followed national games and international events. And running race is considered to be extremely exciting to watch, right? So let me ask you this question then. When should an athlete start running a 100-meter race? Right from the gunshot or immediately after the gunshot? Right? If an athlete immediately starts running after the gunshot, his race is considered to be false start. He'll be disqualified from the event. So when should an athlete start running in that case? From the gunshot, an athlete has to wait for 0.1 second and then start running. There is a sensor attached to the block on which you place your feet to the gun. There's a sensor attached and they're going to measure this 0.1 second. Scientifically, it is proven that for the sound to reach your ear, it is going to take 0.1 seconds. Few people tend to start before that, which is wrong. Even one false start, you will be disqualified from the event. Months and years of your hard work will go for a toss, right? So this is the start time basically. In operational definition, this is the start point. And when is a race considered to be finished? There would be a finish line, I know that. Do I need to touch the finish line with my leg or with my hand or any part of the body? When is my race considered to be finished? Right? It's not legs, it's not hands. It's not any part of your body. It is the upper part of your body excluding your hands and head, which is called as torso. That has to touch the finish line for an athlete to consider that his race is complete. Right? So look at these definitions. They are clearly defined so that each and every judge measures a running race without any bias. According to International Association of Athletic Federation, these are the rules which are set. They are extremely important operational definitions. Look at this. If I'm weighing someone, if I'm trying to take the weight readings, and suppose I have said that, hey, this person weighs 150, and suppose I said this person also weighs 150, but accidentally I measured this person's weight in kgs, I forgot this, and I measured this person's weight in pounds. What happens as the end result? Both of these people are going to compete in one weight category because I was such a fool, I forgot to put my units of measure. So operational definition and units of measure both are extremely important, mind you. Here's a quick exercise to tickle your brain. Here is the voice of customer. Food is too hot. If the temperature is more than 30 degrees, it will be hot. And if the temperature is less than 18 degrees, it would be too cold. Why can't we keep it at 25? That's the voice of customer. A customer who has come to your pizza center has told us. Probably speaking about AC temperature, probably speaking about the temperature of pizza, right? You don't know. Anyways, if it is whatever way, probably like AC or food, that really doesn't matter in this case study that we are doing, right? What is CTQ, critical to quality? Customer is speaking about temperature, all right. Is temperature continuous or discrete? It is continuous. Why is it continuous? Because I can measure temperature to whatever decimal level accuracy I want. It is still going to make sense for me, right? Hence, we call that as continuous data. Operational definition is how you're going to measure the temperature, right? Are you going to use an equipment to take the measurements? If you're using an equipment, is the equipment faulty or is the equipment good? Do you have multiple people who are taking the readings? If yes, then is everyone taking the readings in a similar fashion or not? That is your operational definition. What is lower specification limit? 18 degrees. 18 degrees Celsius. That's clearly defined there. What is my upper specification limit? It is 30 degrees Celsius. And what is my target? I want to maintain the temperature at 25 degrees centigrade. So this is how you need to come up with your operational definition and CTQ measures, things like that. This is the first step of your measure phase. Then comes your measurement system analysis. Yeah, this is extremely important, my dear friends. Measurement system analysis is extremely important. MSA is used to determine the reliability of a current measurement system, which is used to collect the output related data, which is used to measure your Y, basically. MSA helps arrive at a decision on whether data can be collected for further analysis, or if your measurement system is faulty, you would say, no, let us not move on with the data collection because the measurement system itself is faulty. Remember one thing, if there is variation in the data which you are measuring, this variation should not be because of the measurement system. All right. Let us look into this. What is a measurement system? Measurement system is a collection of instruments. It's a collection of gauges. It is collection of standards, operations, methods, software, environment, fixtures, personnel, and all that. And remember this, an ideal measurement system will have zero variance. There would not be any deviation, right? There would not be any variance in the measurement outputs. There would be zero bias. And there is zero probability of misqualifying or misclassifying any product it measured, right? Do you see these kind of things in reality? I understand that this is ideal measurement system, but do you see these kind of things in reality, right? And if you're wondering that these kind of space projects, right, have robust measurement system, then let me tell you this example. NASA lost $125 million on Mars orbiter because an engineering team used English units of measurement while another agency's team used more conventional metric, right? And then this unit's mismatch prevented the navigation information from transferring from the Mars Climate Orbiter spacecraft to your engineering team and the flight team, because of which the spacecraft has gone for a toss. Yeah, people were not able to trace it back. Why? A simple measurement mismatch. I measure in a different way, you measure in a different way. And we both do not coordinate. 150 or $125 million was at stake because of the simple measurement problem. Hence, we need to ensure that our measurement system is robust. Yeah, first you do analysis of your measurement system, understand that everything is intact, and only then go on with the data collection process. Let us understand what is measurement system analysis. Variation in the measurement process should not be because of measurement system. All right? Can we trust our data or not? The evaluation of measurement system should be done prior to any capability analysis. We'll learn about this capability analysis using CP/CPK later on in the topic. So measurement system evaluation should be performed before your capability analysis, before control charting, and before any other analysis to prove that the measurement system is accurate and precise, and to prove that the data is trustworthy. Yeah. But how do I do this? And before that, what is attribute measurement system? If I have attribute data, right, which has a finite number of categories, which has a go, no go gauge, right? Think about this. Your girlfriend makes a statement as this: either marry me or you go to jail. There are only two options, finite number of options, right? Either marry me or you go to jail. Either way, you have to undergo the punishment, right? Either way. You get married, you'll be punished. You go to jail, you'll be punished, right? You decide which is the best punishment for you. Yeah, jokes apart. Attribute measurement system means the measurement values has finite number of categories, maybe 2 categories, or if you look into feedback, it might have 5 to 7 categories. Satisfied, very satisfied, neutral, dissatisfied, very dissatisfied. 5 categories, 5 classifications. Can I divide satisfied further? Does it make sense? Can I divide very satisfied? Does it make sense? It doesn't make sense for me. Your gender, I'm a male or a female, right? Can I divide and subdivide it further? Though there are other variants also. You cannot actually divide a male or divide a female, right? But you can do that on a continuous scale. Weight can be divided to any accuracy possible. Still makes sense. And that is your attribute measurement system. Within attribute measurement system, what do you use? Which technique do you use to actually gauge the reliability of the measurement system? We use attribute agreement analysis to gauge the performance of the measurement system, attribute measurement system. What if my measurement system or the data which I'm measuring is continuous? If it is continuous, we use something called as gauge RNR, which is discussed in Six Sigma Black Belt. Here we'll limit ourselves to only discrete data or attribute data, right? And here is an example of that. How reputably and reliably does your attribute measurement system detect bad mobile phone camera lens from the good ones? This is attribute data. Bad, good, right? Hence, you do attribute agreement analysis in order to measure the reliability of your measurement system. All right, but what is the procedure to perform attribute agreement analysis? Here are the 7 steps which you will have to perform. First, try to collect 15 to 30 samples of items you want to measure. Create a master standard, a supervisor readings or a team leader readings, which would almost always be right. Create that standard. Ask 2 to 3 inspectors to review the samples in random order and record their assessment. Next time, randomize the sample order and do not disclose this to inspectors and have them take the readings again. Right? So they'll be taking 2 readings. Once they take the readings, next time you randomize the sample order and then give it to them once again for reading. And they once again take the measurements. Calculate the percentage of items where both the first trial and the second trial agree with each other. This is called as repeatability. Calculate the percentage of items where the first and second measurements of all the 2 or 3 inspectors agree with each other. That is called as reproducibility. Now calculate the percentage of items of both the first and the second trial of all these 2 or 3 inspectors and measure it against your standard, which is your supervisor reading or your team leader reading, right? The team leader or supervisor is considered to be expert. So his readings more or less would be correct, right? And this is called as accuracy. If these 7 points are sounding alien to you, then now is the time to do an exercise on this. All right. And this is the navigation on Minitab. You need to go to Start, Quality Tools, Attribute Agreement Analysis. Right. This is a screenshot of what has to be filled where. All right. Let us read this case study and understand the case study first. A team leader wants to assess the reliability of the measurement system. The team leader got 20 customer application forms. That is what he has got. And these 20 are checked by 3 of their quality representatives. She wants to check whether the credit card application forms are complete or not. Right? She passed the same 20 application forms to the 3 quality representatives to be checked again. So what she has done is she has randomized the 20 application forms after the first reading, after the first measurement, and then she has given it back to the 3 quality representatives to take another reading. So she's asking each person to do 2 trials. And let us look into the data set in a while. In the data set, 1 means the application form is complete and 0 means the application form is incomplete. Let me move on. Let me show you this exercise, right? Let me show you this in Minitab. All right, here is the Minitab. I have the files open, attribute agreement analysis. Let me see whether this is the right one. No, I don't think so. Let us see this. Yeah. So we have 20 customer application forms. And this satisfies the first point in our attribute agreement analysis procedure. Collect 15 to 30 samples of items you want to measure. We have collected 20 samples. The second step was create a master standard to designate each sample to its true category. Yep, I have my team leader. I have given these 20 application forms and I've collected the information which he has given. And he is considered to be more or less correct always. He's my standard. I'm going to compare each and every quality representative against the team leader's performance, right? Against the team leader's recordings. All right. Step 3 says ask 2 to 3 inspectors to review the samples in random order and record their assessment. So yes, I have 3 quality representatives or inspectors. I have 1 QR1, I have second quality representative 2, and I have third quality representative 3. I have 3 appraisers or 3 inspectors or 3 quality representatives in this case. And I'm asking them to take the readings. So they have taken the readings as part of trial 1. As part of trial 1, quality representative 2 also has taken the readings. And as part of trial 1, quality representative 3 also has taken the readings. All right. Now, I asked them to take another reading. Trial 2. Trial 2. Quality representative is taking another trial. Quality representative 3 is taking another trial. Right? Now, I need to look into step 5, 6, and 7, which we have discussed in attribute agreement analysis procedure. Let us do this. Let us go to Stat, Quality Tools, and then let us click on attribute agreement analysis. These things are already populated because I have already performed an exercise on this. Okay, this is how it would look initially. All right. Since I have data in multiple columns, I select this option, multiple columns. And it's given here. Enter trials for each appraiser together. So I have quality representative 1 who has performed trial 1, trial 2, quality representative 2 who has conducted trial 1, trial 2, and trial 3 for quality representative 3. I select everything and click on select. It's going to populate the information here. How many appraisers do I have? 3. I have 3 quality representatives. How many trials did each person perform? 2 trials. Do I know the standard or attribute? Oh yes, and he's my team leader. Select him. Simply click on OK. Yep. We'll not look into the diagram for now. We will look into this and try to understand. Let me click here. This is called as session folder, which will show what are the various things which you have performed in this session. You have performed attribute agreement analysis, within that you have within appraisers, each appraiser was a standard, between appraisers, and all appraisers was a standard. Let us discuss each thing in detail. So the first thing is within appraisers. Let us get to this. Here is appraiser 1, yeah, is quality representative 1. I have quality representative 2 and I also have quality representative 3. There are 20 customer application forms which each person has inspected. Alright. Number of matches were 16 for appraiser 1 and the percentage is 80. How did we get 80 and what is the 16? Let me go back to the worksheet and explain this. In order to go to the worksheet, you need to click on this, show worksheets folder. Look into this. Quality representative 1 has taken 20 readings. For the first customer application form, in both of his trials, he says customer application form is incomplete. Fine. In the second one also, in both cases, he says customer application form is incomplete. Fine. For the third form, he says incomplete in both cases. Fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth. For all of these, he says customer application form is incomplete. And he interestingly agrees with himself in both the trials. Look at this application number 9. In his first trial, he's saying customer application form is complete. In the second trial, he's saying it is incomplete. So he is not agreeing with himself. There is one deviation here. For the 10th one and 11th one, he says that customer application form is complete in both the cases, in both the trials. Look at this application form 12. First time he's saying it is incomplete, and the second trial, he changes his decision to it is complete. He's not agreeing with himself. The second deviation is here. The third deviation comes here. Customer application form 14. In the first trial, he says customer application form is complete. In the second trial, he says it is incomplete. So 3 flaws. Look at customer application form 17. He does not agree with himself. He first says customer application form is complete, and second time he says it is incomplete. So out of 20, there are 4 places where the quality representative does not agree with himself. So from 20, if I take out 4, the remaining is 16, right? And that is the 16 which is appearing here. So 16 times it matched with itself. So the quality representative 1 agreed with himself on 16 occasions with respect to 16 custom application forms. If I simply divide 16 by 20 and multiply by 100, I get 80%. I'll not be explaining about the confidence interval here, 95% confidence interval at this point of time. And will not be looking into flake up or statistics. Flake up or statistics is discussed in detail in Blackboard, not here. All right. What does this 80% mean? Remember this. If any value is greater than 90%, you can say that the measurement system is acceptable. If the value is between 70 and 90, you have to cautiously accept the measurement system. And if it is less than 70%, the measurement system is unacceptable. So it's 80%. You'll probably ask your appraiser, quality representative 1, that, do you know what? I cautiously agree with your measurement readings, but you will have to improve your readings. And probably you'll give him some training and ensure that he's up to speed. Quality representative 2 has a percentage of 90%, which is 18 divided by 20. And your quality representative 3 has a percentage of 90%. Commendable, right? Greater than 90%. Acceptable. This within appraisers is also called as repeatability. Appraisers are repeating themselves, right? If they are matching, if their trial 1 and trial 2 results match, it is called as repeatability. They are repeating themselves, right? Now let us look into between appraisers. What does this mean? And let us understand this for a while. There are 20 customer application forms which were inspected and 12 matched. 12 by 20 multiplied by 100 is 16. But where am I getting this 12 from? Let us go back to the worksheet and understand. Click on this icon, show worksheets folder to go to the worksheet. Here's the worksheet. Between appraisers means between all of them. If they are greater than 2, probably it should be among appraisers, but that's fine. Grammatically, that's fine. Okay. Quality representative 1, trial 1, trial 2, quality representative 2 in trial 1 and 2, quality representative 3 in trial 1 and 2. Everyone says customer application form 1 is incomplete. Fine. Here also everyone says customer application form is incomplete. Fine. Look at this third one. All except your quality representative in his trial 2 does not agree. Quality representative in his trial 2 says customer application form is complete. In all the rest of the cases, it is incomplete. So there is a mismatch. Look at this fourth customer application form. Everyone says it is incomplete except for quality representative 2, that 2 in his trial 1 only. Only in his trial 1 he is saying it is complete. In rest of the places it is incomplete, right? There is a second mismatch. Here we have a third mismatch, right? Quality representative 2 in trial 2 says customer application form is complete. But in the rest of the places, trials performed by quality representative 1 and 2 says it is incomplete. So another mismatch. Here we have another mismatch, right? Here also there is a mismatch. Here also there is a mismatch. Customer application form 12. Customer application form 14. This also has a mismatch. Customer application form 17 also has a mismatch. So if you count the number of mismatches, there would be 8 mismatches. So if there are 8 mismatches out of 20 customer application form, how many matched? It's 12. And that is the 12 number which you see here. And between appraisers is called as reproducing between or among the various appraisers. Now let us look into each appraiser versus standard. First, quality representative 1 has inspected 20 customer application forms and he has found that 16 have matched. 16 by 20 multiplied by 100 will give me a percentage of 85. Sorry, 80. Quality representative 2. Out of 20 customer application forms, 17 have matched. 17 by 20 multiplied by 100 would give me 85. On similar lines, we can also calculate the percentage of agreement for quality representative 3. But where am I getting the 16 from? Let me go back to the worksheet and explain this. So we have quality representative 1 who has conducted trial 1 and trial 2, and he has also looked into 20 customer application forms. Now these values are compared with the standard, which is your team leader. 0, 0 and 0 for the first customer application form. That means customer application form 1 is incomplete. 2 is also, there is a match, 0, 0, and here we have 0 for the standard as well. 3 also we have 0, 0, and then we have 0 for the standard. 0 means customer application form is incomplete. Here also it's matching. But when you go to this customer application form 9, customer quality representative 1 says customer application form is complete in trial 1. He says it is incomplete in trial 2. Also, the standard says it is incomplete. First mismatch here. Look into customer application form 12. Quality representative in his trial 1 says it is incomplete. In his trial 1, trial 2 says it is complete. Standard also says it is complete. However, there is a mismatch. All numbers are not the same. Look into customer application form 14. 1, 0, and 1. Right? It has to be the same for it to be qualifying as matching. Look into customer application form 17. 1, 0, and 0. Not matching. Right? Quality representative 1 in trial 1 says application form is complete. In trial 2 he says it is incomplete. And also the standard says it is incomplete. So there is a mismatch. Right? So that is what is coming here. Each appraiser was a standard, 16. 16 times it matched with the standard. And this is called as individual accuracy or appraiser accuracy. Once again, remember that the thumb rule, greater than 90%, my measurement system is acceptable. In between 70 and 90, it is cautiously acceptable. Less than 70, it is unacceptable. There's one last thing which we'll have to look into now, which is all appraisers was a standard. Out of 20 customer application forms, there was a match of 12, and the total percentage is coming to 60. 12 by 20 multiplied by 100 is 60. Right? So let us go back to the worksheet and understand where this 12 is coming from. So click on this icon, go back and do this. Now I need to look into each and every appraiser versus the standard. Each and every appraiser reading versus the standard. Even if one number is different, that is a mismatch. Look at this. Customer application form 3. Everyone says customer application form is incomplete, including your standard, which is your team lead. However, quality representative 3 in his trial 2 says application form is complete. So there is one mismatch. For this also there is a mismatch here. Quality representative 2 in his trial 1 says customer application form 4 is complete. No one else agree with that. 8 has a mismatch. There's a 1 here. 9 has a mismatch. There is a 1 here. 11 has a mismatch. 0 and 0. Quality representative 2 in both of his trials says it is incomplete. Here also there is a mismatch. Here also there is a mismatch. So if you count these number of mismatches, there would be 8 mismatches out of 20. That leaves us with a count of 12 which are matching, consistent across, including the standard. Hence you see that 12 here and this percentage. Now all appraisers versus standard is called as team accuracy. Greater than 90% accept the measurement system. In between 70 and 90% cautiously accept the measurement system. Less than 70% unacceptable. Reject your measurement system. That is what it says. And here are the things that we have discussed. Repeatability, reproducibility, accuracy. We have discussed about appraiser accuracy and team accuracy, and based on this we are deciding whether our measurement system is stable or not. Does the appraiser agree with him or herself on all trials? Is repeatability. Do all appraisers agree with themselves and others on all trials? Is reproducible. Does the appraiser agree with the known standard on all trials? Is appraiser accuracy? Does all appraisers agree with themselves, others, and with the standard? That is team accuracy. I've looked into all these things. And for you guys to practice, there are two case studies. One is Apollo, and another thing is CBSH Bank. Read this, try solving this, right? It is extremely easy. Practice makes you perfect. But do refer to our final recording, which has solutions to all these case studies, right? But first, I sincerely request you to give a try. All right. Now let us look into current performance measurement. Assuming that the measurement system is accurate, assuming that the measurement system is reliable, we move on to look into current performance measurement. We need to evaluate current performance of my output and baseline it for comparison in the improve phase. Post improvement, the values are going to increase. I need to compare my current performance with the improved performance, right? That is my objective. Because I need to know whether there has been an improvement or not. All right. We may choose to compute sigma level or any other process capability indices. So this is how we do that. This is how we do that. Right. Okay. Let me erase everything. Okay. Sigma level. Sigma level can be computed for the following situations. If you have a continuous data, and if you have specification limits, mean and standard deviation, this is how you calculate. If you have attribute data, there are three different scenarios. Scenario one is I know the defects, I know the sample size, I know the opportunities for error. Scenario two, I know the defects, I know the sample size, I know the opportunities for error are unknown. I know that the opportunities for error is not known. All right, scenario two. Scenario three, you know the defects, you know the sample size. Calculate your sigma level. You can also use yield. You can either calculate first time yield or rolled throughput yield. We'll discuss about that as well. Then we have CP/CPK. We calculate this for continuous data. And remember one thing, data should be normally distributed. This goes back to the central limit theorem explanation, right? Remember that. And then we have specification limits, mean and standard deviation. ST is short term, we will discuss about that in a while. Sigma level, basically, right? Sigma level is number of punches a boxer can take and still withstand without getting knocked out. It's similar to your tensile strength, right? How much maximum stress that a material can undergo, right, without failing or breaking. That is your sigma level. You're assessing the strength of your process, basically. So let us quickly get into the case studies and understand by calculating these values. First thing is sigma level for continuous data. If we know the specification limits, if we know the mean and the standard deviation, we need to first check whether data are normally distributed or not. We need to compute the mean and standard deviation. We need to input these values in our spreadsheet calculator. I'll show you the spreadsheet calculator in a while now. And based on which you will calculate ZLT and ZST. Right? So let me tell you this. Let us understand the case study. XLR has specified to the hotel that temperature in the training room should be 21 plus or minus 3 degrees. The average room temperature is 22 degrees and the standard deviation is 2. What is the sigma level? First, try to write down the information which is provided to us, inputs. USL is 24. Where am I getting this 24 from? 21 plus 3 is 24. Lower specification limit is 18. Where am I getting this from? 21 minus 3. What is my target? Is 21. Where am I getting 21 from? Here. That's my target. Mean is 22, which is given. Standard deviation is 2, which is also given. Right? What is ZLT and what is ZST? ZLT is long term. ZST is short term. Think about this. You have made an improvement in the month of Jan and you claim that post improvement your process operates at 6 sigma. Fine. 6 months down the lane, probably you'll still be operating at 6 sigma. 1 year down the lane, you'll still be operating at 6 sigma maybe. Right? But can you guarantee that you would be operating at 6 sigma throughout the journey for the next 10 years, 20 years? Is it possible? No. Right? So according to various experiments conducted, statisticians, mathematicians say that if your process is at 6 sigma, which is short term, right? If you say that you have made an improvement and your process is operating at 6 sigma, then in the short term, for the next 3 months or for the next 6 months, you can claim that your process would be at 6 sigma only. But when you look into the long term, your process tends to drift. And how much will it drift to? People say there will be a drift of 1.5 sigma. So if it is 6 sigma, in the long term, it would be 4.5 sigma. It keeps drifting in the long term. And this sigma shift is 1.5 sigma. All right. Okay. So with that context, let us go ahead and look into our spreadsheet calculator. Here's the sigma level calculator. We are given the values as 24, 18, 21, 22, and standard deviation is 2. So let us keep those values. Mean is 22. My bad. I will have to unprotect this sheet. Give me a minute. All right, the sheet is unprotected now. Mean is given as 22, standard deviation is given as 2. Upper specification limit is 24 and the lower specification limit is 18. If I key in those values, I get my ZST, sigma level short term and sigma level long term. Look at this. Sigma level long term is 0.91. If I add 1.5 sigma to that, I would get Z short term. Let me highlight this. Here is a formula. Here is a formula on how to calculate DPMO and how the values of Z are getting calculated. Just in case you're interested, look at this formula. Okay. So these are the values. This is how, my bad. This is how you calculate. Okay. Let us go back and look into another example. Let us look into this shoe measurement. Right, case study 1. What does this say? A shoe manufacturer wants to assess the performance of shoe sole cutting machine. Auditor has audited 100 8-inch shoe soles. Right? and the shoe's accepted specification is 8 plus or minus half. So your upper specification limit would become 8.5 and the lower specification limit would become 7.5. And what is ZST value? That is what people are asking. Let me go back to the previous slide. Look at this. What are we first supposed to do? We need to check whether data are normally distributed or not. Step 1, compute the mean and standard deviation. Right? Step 3, input the specification limits, mean and standard deviation in the spreadsheet. Okay, here we go. Let us look into those case studies. This is the shoe sole measurement in inches, right? And these are the various values. We have data for 100 shoes. That is what our question says, case study. Okay. The first step is I need to check whether data are normally distributed or not. What do I need to do for that? Go to Stat, Basic Statistics, and I do graphical summary. This window pops up. Just select the particular column. I select shoe sole measurement, I highlight that and click on select. This got selected. Now I click on OK. And this is going to give me a graphical representation. This is a histogram, the bars. This is the probability distribution curve. And here is a box plot. We discussed about all these things in our introduction, right? This data seems to be following normal distribution if I look into the graph because it's beautifully shaped symmetrically. That is what I feel. But I do not want to base my decisions by looking at the images. So let us base our decisions based on few numbers. Look at this. Anderson-Darling normality test. If the p-value is greater than 0.05, that means data are normal. Now, how are we getting 0.05? Why are we taking p-value as 0.05? Things will become clear in analyze phase. For now, just think about this as a thumb rule. If the p-value for AD normality test, Anderson-Darling normality test, if the p-value is greater than 0.05, that means data are normal. So in this case, data are normal. Fine. We also have a mean and a standard deviation which is given. What is the mean here? Average 8.0215. 8.0215. That's my mean. What is my standard deviation? It is 0.2956. All right. So now I know mean, I know the standard deviation. I know that the data are normally distributed. And also from the case study, let me go to the worksheet. And let me go here. Where is the case study? Let me go to the case study. Right? And we also know the specification limits from the case study. So now you have all the values. Key in your numbers in the spreadsheet calculator. Here's the spreadsheet calculator. What is the mean? Mean we calculated and it came up to 8.0215. What was the standard deviation? It was 0.2956. What was our upper specification limits from the case study? It was 8 plus half, which is 8.5. What was the lower specification limit? It was 8 minus half, which is 7.5. Now, once I key in these values, I get my Z values. Z long term is 1.33. If I add 1.5 to this, I would get Z short term, which is 2.85. right? So let us go back to the worksheet, or not the worksheet. Let us go back to the PowerPoint presentation. Okay, there are 3 more case studies for you to practice. Practice thoroughly and all the best, right? If you are for some reason unable to calculate these values, do not worry. We have the solutions provided in the last recording to all the case studies primarily. Alright, let us move on now. So all the while we have been discussing about ZLT, ZST and all that. Alright, so let us understand. ZLT is calculated from overall standard deviation long term. ZST is calculated using within standard deviation, right? And we also know that the Z short term is equal to Z long term plus 1.5. Why are you using this 1.5? Why not 2.5 or 3? I'm using 1.5 because based on umpteen number of experiments conducted by scientists, by mathematicians, they have concluded that there would be a 1.5 sigma shift in the process in the long term. Hence, people say there has to be continuous improvement. Plan, do, check, act, cycle, right? There has to be continuous improvement. If you think that you are going to do an improvement now and it's going to sustain forever, that would not happen. There would constantly be a shift of 1.5 sigma and all the improvements would not stand good. Yeah, it keeps changing. All right. If only upper specification limit is given, then how do you calculate the Z value? It is USL minus X bar. X bar is the mean divided by standard deviation. If you have only lower specification limit, then the formula is here. X bar, which is the mean minus lower specification limit divided by standard deviation. It's pretty much the same things which we have discussed earlier. Now let us discuss about how to calculate sigma level for attribute data. Right. Scenario 1. If sample size is provided, number of defects are provided, and if you know opportunity for error, first thing you do is calculate DPO, defects per opportunities, which is defects divided by opportunities for error multiplied by the sample size. If you want to find out defects per million opportunities, you just multiply defects per opportunity by 1,000,000. Copy this DPMO value into the spreadsheet. You'll get the value of ZLT long term and Z short term. Let us understand this case study. There are 300 EPADs which were inspected. And you have inspected 5 characteristics in each EPAD. And you have observed 200 defects. What is the sigma level? So what are the things which are given to you already? Number of units inspected, it's 300, which is given in the case study. How many defects do you have? 200 defects, which is also given in the case study. Opportunities for error is equal to 5, which is given in your case study. So what is total opportunity for error? It is opportunity for error, which is 5 multiplied by 300, which is units inspected, and the count is 1500. What is defects per opportunity? It is number of defects, which is 200 divided by 1500. Opportunity for error multiplied by the sample size. Yeah. All right. You just need to key in these values into your spreadsheet calculator and you'll get the result. Let us go back to the spreadsheet calculator. And spreadsheet calculator assumes that you guys are extremely lazy. Look at this. We have discrete data here. So go to sheet 2. You need not even calculate defects per opportunities. You need not even calculate total opportunities for error. You need not calculate defects per million opportunities. All you need to do is key in the number of defects. According to the case study, you have 200 defects. According to the sample, you have 300 EPATs, and you are checking 5 characteristics in each EPAT. The moment I key in those values, I get this. Z long term is 1.11. And if I add 1.5 sigma or the number 1.5, I would get Z short term, which is 2.61. So if someone is going to come to me and ask, what is the current performance of your process? I would say it is 2.61 sigma short term. So I'm operating at a sigma level 2.61. And how about long term? It's sigma level 1.11. Six sigma process means Z short term should be 6, right? But I'm operating currently at 2.61. Pathetic performance of the process. So let us remove these values, enter those. When we look into the relevant case study, okay, back to a presentation, back to scenario 2. Here it is. If the sample size is given to you, if the defects are given to you, and if opportunities for error is unknown, how do you calculate? First, calculate defects per unit, which is defects by sample size. Copy defects per unit into the spreadsheet calculator. Your job is done. If you're lazy in calculating this, DPU, do not worry. We have ensured that spreadsheet calculator takes care of the lazy folks as well. Let us look into the case study. There are 100 hens cars which were inspected. We observed 16 defects. What is the sigma level? What are the details which are provided to you? Number of units inspected is 100. Number of defects is equal to 16. So if I want to calculate defects per unit, it is 16 divided by 100. Now I can key in this EPU value alone and get sigma long term and sigma short term. Or, as I've told you, we have accommodated for the lazy folks like me. Right? I'm a very lazy person, by the way. So let us go back to the spreadsheet calculator. Case study says there are 16 defects and you have inspected 100 hens cars. If I key in those two values, I get sigma long term and sigma short term. Sigma long term says it is 1.05 and sigma short term says it is 2.55. So if someone is going to ask me what is the current process performance, I would say I am operating at 2.55 sigma level. And if a process were to be operating at 6 sigma, this Z short term would be 6. Right? Look at this. We are not performing well. This is pathetic performance, by the way. All right. Let us go back to the presentation and look into the third scenario quickly. Here's the third scenario. If sample size is given, defects are given. Oh, we are looking into the previous scenario. Let me move on to the next scenario. If the sample size is given and the number of defectives are given to you, then you will have to calculate yield, which is number of non-defectives divided by the sample size. Copy the yield into the spreadsheet calculator. You will see the sigma long term and sigma short term. Here's the case study. 1,000 shirts were inspected, 30 shirts were defectives. What is the difference between defect and defectives? Even though there is a defect in the shirt, such as button is not properly stitched, handcuff is slightly torn, I can still weigh the shirt. right? But if a shirt is defective, that means I cannot wear it. It is completely torn probably, right? That's the difference between defects and defectives. Okay, here are the values which are given to us. Number of units inspected is 1000, number of defects is 30, and we know how to calculate number of non-defectives. 1000 minus 30, which is 970. Yield is 970 divided by 1000. Either key in this yield value directly to get the sigma long term and short term, or you know what, right? Lazy folks, I can help you out. Right? See, this is what you can do. If you know the yield, key in the yield value here. If you calculated DPU, key in the value here. If you have DPMO, key in the value here to get your Z long term and Z short term. But if you're lazy, go back to this. Just key in the values. There are 30 shirts which were found to be defective out of 1000 shirts based on a case study. I get Z long term as 1.88 and Z short term as 3.38. The difference would be 1.5 here. If someone asks me what is the current performance of your process, I would say that I'm operating at 3.38 sigma level. I wish to implement Six Sigma process and I wish to improve this 3.38 sigma level and probably achieve Six Sigma. But jumping directly from 3.38 sigma to 6 would be a Herculean task. What do you do then? You'll probably try to move from 3.38 sigma to 4 sigma or 4.5 sigma. From there, you'll take another leap, probably reach 5 sigma, then 5.2 sigma, so on and so forth. And ultimately, you will end up at 6 sigma. Each sigma shift is going to be extremely difficult. More and more, closer you move towards 6 sigma, more will be the difficulty level. More would be the challenges. Yeah. So remember that. If you're doing a consulting engagement for a client, and if the client's current process is operating at 3 sigma, then probably you will have to say that I'm going to do some improvement and try to bring up your sigma level to probably 4 or 4.5 sigma. If you're committing that, you would move the sigma level of the process to 6 sigma, it will be extremely, extremely challenging. I'm not saying it is impossible, I'm saying it is extremely challenging. So judiciously accept the goal with the client on the consulting engagement. All right. Here's the sigma level for attribute data. Here are a few examples. You can solve it and try to get the answer to your sigma short. Please give a try. If you're unable to do for any reason, look into a last recording on the learning management system. You'll find solutions to this. Okay. Let me go to the slide mode and let us move on and discuss about yield. What is yield? What is traditional yield? Let us discuss that. Yield is a first time right percentage. And we have first time yield and goal throughput yield. First time yield is used to determine quality level of individual sub-process. If I multiply the first time yield of each and every sub-process, I would ultimately get the roll throughput yield. Yeah. Let us understand this with an example. Does this picture sound familiar? Formula One race, right? Hey, let me ask you some interesting thing. According to NASCAR pit stop, if you're concerned about what NASCAR stands for, NASCAR, It is National Association of Stock Car Auto Racing. Yeah, National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing. And I'm sure you all know what a pit stop is. Pit stop. After n number of circuits around your racing track, your tires worn out. You'll run out of fuel. Your braking system might get eroded. So you'll have to stop, have your tires changed, have your fuel filled, and then check your braking system and move on, right? So let me ask you this question. How much time does it take for me to replace the 4 tires, fill the fuel, check the braking system, and let me go if I'm a driver, right? How much time does it take? If you're thinking about a value which is greater than 10, you're out of the race, my dear friend. If you are thinking about a value which is greater than 5, still you're behind the race. The right value is 1.923 seconds. 1.923 seconds. In 2013 US Grand Prix, the Red Bull Racing team, wherein Mark Webber was the driver, right? They could complete a pit stop in 1.923 seconds, under 2 seconds. Amazing stuff. Extraordinary achievement. This is the fastest Formula One pit stop by far. All right, that's the interesting part. But now let us get into yield, traditional yield and things like that. Suppose there were 450 sports car and 400 out of these 450 had the pressure, air pressure within the required specification limits. If this is the case, how would you calculate traditional yield? It's simply 400 divided by 450, which would give you 88.88%. Think about this. Why could this be considered misleading? Why is this misleading? Think about it. Here is the answer for that. Initially, there was an inspection performed and you have found that 160 tires did not comply with pressure specification, right? However, the operators corrected 110 tires out of these 160, leaving only 50 that could not be brought back to the specification, right? And what were you looking into for traditional yield? You were looking into only this 50, the final result. Who is going to consider the entire number of tires which were outside your specification, right? So if I subtract 160 from 450, I would get 290. If I divide by 450, which is the total count, I would get the first time yield as 64.44%. Look at the difference between traditional yield and first time yield. Traditional yield is covering up. It's trying to cover up and say that, you know what, there are only 50 tires which could not be brought back to the specification. But in reality, during the first check, there were 160 tires which did not comply with the pressure specification. And you'll have to consider this 160 for your calculation, right? And then you get first time yield. This is the right number which you should be looking at, right? First time yield focuses on yield of the process before inspection and rework is carried out. That's the interesting part. You'll have to look into that. Now look into this first time yield and roll throughput yield calculation for this entire process. 100 units were taken to process 1, right? And you have found that 91 out of 100 were meeting your specifications. So 9 were not meeting your specification. So if I were to find out the first time yield for this process 1, What would that be? It would be 91 divided by 100, which is nothing but 0.91, right? Now, these 91 are given to process 2. 82 out of these 91 were meeting the specifications. So you have again lost 9. If I were to find out the first time yield for this second process, it will be 82 divided by 91. You get the number, right? So on and so forth. These 82 were given to process 3 and you got 70 which were meeting your specifications. So the first time yield for your third process is 70 divided by 82. You get a number once again, right? These are the first time yields for each and every step. If I multiply the first time yield of step 1 with first time yield of step 2 with first time yield of step 3, then I would get rolled throughput yield. Rolled throughput yield is for the entire process. First time yield is for a particular step of the process. And this is how you calculate your first time yield. This is how you calculate your rolled throughput yield. And you baseline your current performance in this way. Right? Now, let us move on and discuss a different topic or a different concept called as process capability index. This is a metric which is used to quantify and evaluate your process capability. It shows how capable your process is in terms of meeting both your internal and external customer requirements. Look at these 4 scenarios, right? Look at scenario 1. And even before that, do you know what this particular image is? This is the dart board. You place it on the wall and start hitting it with these dart points. Oh, my bad. Let me move back to the previous slide. Okay. Have you ever played dart before? I hope most of you all have played or at least are aware of this. And for the married people, this is what I would suggest. If you have not played dart, take the picture of your spouse, stick it to the wall and start hitting it with the dart. Vent out your frustrations and then you can lead a happy life from there on. Take my word on that. Free suggestion. All right. If you don't want my free suggestion, also it's fine. Okay. Let us look into this. So this is the dartboard and this is the bullseye. If I hit on this red dot, I'll get maximum points because I will be very accurate. Right? If I continuously hit my dart points on this, accuracy would be high. All right. Why is this low in accuracy and low in precision? Because I have hit the dart points which are away from my target, I have low accuracy. Why is that low precision? Because these points, 3 points, are not close to each other. Let us look into example 2. It is low in accuracy because these dart points are away from my target. That's fine. Why is it high in precision? Because these dart points are closer to each other. Think about these as my marks which I've obtained in my 10th standard of my school days. I failed in mathematics, okay. I failed in social studies, okay. I failed in science. Though I am low in accuracy, I'm high in precision. I consistently fail in all subjects. Yeah, this example is only for illustration. By the way, I didn't fail in any subject. All right. Let us look into third scenario. It is high in accuracy because your dart points are closer to the target, but it is low in precision because these dart points are away from each other. Unlike the previous scenario, these dart points are away from each other. Let us look into the fourth scenario now. It is high in accuracy and high in precision. Why is it high in accuracy? Because all the dot points are hit at the target. Why is it high in precision? Because all these dot points are closer to each other. Yep. Let us understand these things in the context of CP/CPK. Now, we use the number or the representation CP to speak about the precision. How close your data is to each other is explained using CP. And this value as a thumb rule should always be greater than or equal to 1.66. Yeah, it has to be greater than 1.66 as a thumb rule. How close are these dot points to the target is explained using a capability index called CPK. This value as a thumb rule should be greater than 1.33 for me to say that my data points are closer to the target. My mean is closer to the target. If I want to make that statement, my CPK should be greater than or equal to 1.3. Let's jump into an exercise and understand about this. CP capability index. It is the ratio of tolerance or specification width to the inherent variability, which is process width in the process. Here is the formula. CP is equal to specification width divided by process width. Here is the case study for us. XLR Six Sigma has specified to the hotel that temperature in the training room should be 21 plus or minus 3 degrees. The average room temperature is 22 and the standard deviation is 0.5. What is CP? Look at the inputs. What are the inputs which are given to us? Upper specification limit is 24. Where are we getting this 24 from? Right? It is 21 plus 3. Where are we getting this lower specification as 18 from? It is 21 minus 3. Where are we getting this target from? It is 21 here. And we are also given the standard deviation, which is 0.5, which is here. How do you calculate CP? CP is equal to specification width divided by process width. What is specification width? It is upper specification limit minus lower specification limit. What is the process width? Normally, for a repeated process, you keep the control limits as plus or minus 3 standard deviation, and that is your process width. Right? But it's automatically statistically calculated based on the data that you input. So if it is plus 3 standard deviations on one side, and if it is minus 3 standard deviations on the other side, it would sum up to 6 standard deviations. So your process width is 6 standard deviations. You just simply substitute, you get the CP value as 2. What do you infer? What are we doing now? We are in the measure phase. I'm trying to find out what is my current performance. And CP value should have been greater than 1.66. For me to claim that the variation is less in the process, right? And here I'm getting 2, which is extremely good. So the variation in the process is less. I'm doing things consistently. That is what my CP says. But doing things consistently alone does not give complete picture about the process. Look at the scenario. We're telling that CP value is high, which says this, that the variation is less in the process. We also have to look into whether you are on target or whether you're away from the target. For that, we need to look into CPK value. So let us move on, understand what CPK means. Here is the formula, right? We will understand that formula while we solve this particular case study. XLR Six Sigma specified to the hotel that temperature in the training room should be between 21 plus or minus 3 degrees. And the average room temperature is 22 and standard deviation is 0.5. These values are given to us. What is CPK value? How do I calculate this? What is given to me? Upper specification limit is given to me as 24. Where am I getting 24 from? It is 21 plus 3 degrees. Where am I getting this lower specification limit as 18 from? It is 21 minus 3. Where am I getting this target from? It's coming from here, 21. It's given in my case studies. Where am I getting the mean as 22 from? Given in the case study. Where am I getting the standard deviation as 0.5 from? Given here. Okay. All you need to do is first calculate your CPU, which is upper specification limit minus mean, divided by 3 times of standard deviation. If I simply substitute the values, I get 1.33. I then need to calculate CPL. CPL measures how close process mean is to the lower specification limit. If I simply use this formula, which is mean minus lower specification limit divided by 3 times of standard deviation, I get this value, which is 22 minus 18 divided by 3 times of standard deviation. And the calculation results into 2.67. What is the CPK value? It is the minimum of CPU and CPL. So it's minimum of these two values, which turns out to be 1.33. Right, that's my CPK. What do I infer now? Remember, we are into a measure phase. We are baselining the current performance of the process, right? As a thumb rule, CPK value should be greater than or equal to 1.33. For me to say that, the process mean is closer to the target. And it's 1.33 here. So I need not worry, right? There is less variation in the process based on CP value, which we have calculated here. It is 2. And CPK is also doing good. So my process mean is closer to my target. This is how I infer, right? Let us look into some more understanding, right? CP and CPK. Lower the CP value, more is the variation. Look at this. Right? There's a huge variation. As and how my CP value increases, the variation reduces. Yeah. There's a less variation if CP value is 2. Right? That is how you infer. How about CPK? Lower my CPK value, far away are my data points to the mean. Process mean is far away from my target. As and how your CPK value increases, your process mean comes closer to the target. That is what you infer, my dear friends. Let's move on and look into this small case study. Okay. For a health organization, the vision is to achieve the life expectancy of people, and which is 80 plus or minus 10 years. Right? So my target is given as 80. Upper specification limit is given as 90, which is 80 plus 10. Lower specification limit is 80 minus 10, which is 70. Mean is given as 88. So X bar is given as 88. And the standard deviation is given as 1.5. I just need to simply use the formula of CPK and calculate those values. And then also look into the inference. CP value as a thumb rule should be greater than or equal to 1.66. CPK value as a thumb rule should be greater than or equal to 1.33. Yeah. Look into these and just select the appropriate option on what you want to improve. Do you want to move the mean closer to the target, or do you want to reduce the variation, or do you want to do both? You'll be able to say so by calculating CP and CPK values. All right, here is another case study. Calculate CP, CPK. If you're wondering what to do, please do not worry. Try solving. Practice makes you perfect. I repeat this. If you do not arrive at a solution, do not get bogged down. Do not press the panic button yet. We have recorded the solutions to all the case studies, all the exercises in the last recording. Wait until then. All right. CP, CPK, we have understood the explanations of this, right? But let us look into this. If CPK is equal to CP, what will happen to process mean and the target? Yeah, what will happen to that? Process mean will be equal to your target, right? And look at that. If CP is equal to 1, what will happen? What is the formula for CP? Specification width divided by process width. If CP were to be 1, both specification width and process width should be equal. If CP is less than 1, your denominator should be greater than your numerator. So your process width should be greater than your specification width, right? Let me know if you have a different explanation. You can write into me, right? But otherwise, this is the right explanation. Okay, here's another brain teaser, but we'll be solving this here. What will happen? Scenario 1, case 1. CP is greater than 1.66, it is 2. CPK is 2, which is greater than 1.33. Hence, you need not do anything, right? There is less variation, and your process mean is closer to the target, so you need not worry much here. Look into case number 2. CP is 2, which is greater than 1.66. Good. So your variation is less in the process. Look into CPK. It's 1.3, oh sorry, 1.1, which is less than 1.33, right? So you have to try and move mean closer to the target. That is your job for scenario 2, case 2. Look into case 3. CP value is 0.85, which is less than 1.66. Hence, you have to focus on reducing the variation. Look into CPK, which is 1.85. This value is greater than 1.33. That's the thumb rule, right? Hence, it's a good situation. You need not move mean closer to the target. You just need to focus on reducing the variation for case 3. For case 4, CP value is 0.7, which is less than 1.66. Hence, you need to focus on reducing the variation. CPK value is 0.55, which is less than 1.33. Hence, you also have to focus on moving mean closer to target. Ideally, you need to focus on improving both in case number 4, right? Yes, quick understanding about capability, stability, and all that. All statistical analysis, CP, CPK, control charts, etc., must be performed only after your process has achieved stability, and only if you feel that all non-random trends have been removed from the process, at least to the best of your knowledge and ability. Let's look into this capability and stability. How does a process look if it has high stability and low capability? Right? This is how it looks like. Values are consistently falling outside your specification limits on either side. But it's stable, all look alike. Think about this. A process which is low in capability and low in stability. This is how it looks like. It's random, explaining that there is no stability in the process, and there are a lot of things falling outside your specification limit, explaining that it is low in capability. Think about this, something which is high in capability and low in stability. High in capability means all fall within your specification limits. Low in stability means there's no consistency, there's a lot of variation here, though it's falling within the specification limits. A process which is high in stability and high in capability looks like this. Everything falls within the specification limits and everything is consistent. Wow. Okay, this brings us to the end of measure phase. Let us look into the outputs of the measure phase. And the key output of the measure phase is baselining your current performance of Y. Output, you're baselining the current performance. Apart from that, there are also a few other outputs. And the first thing is performance standards for Y. Second, we measured the measurement system. We looked into the reliability of the measurement system using attribute agreement analysis. And the third output was the baseline based on the performance metrics. We looked into sigma level, we looked into process capability analysis, we looked into the E. Right. All right, we came to the end of the measure phase. Let us quickly recap. A quick summary. We discussed about critical to quality operational definition and we finalized the performance standard and we documented it. We also have seen on how to assess reliability of measurement system as part of attribute agreement analysis. AAA has 3 measures. We have looked into repeatability, reproducibility, and accuracy. And we looked into these thumb rules. Measurement system is acceptable if it's greater than 90%. It is greater than 70% and less than or equal to 90%. And measurement system is rejected if it is less than or equal to 70%. We also, oh my bad, my bad, bear with me on that. Okay. We have also understood that data collection plan should be performed only after the measurement system reliability is established. If we feel that the measurement system is reliable, then we move on to calculate either sigma level, right? For continuous data, we calculate in a different way. If the data is attribute data, we have 3 different scenarios, and that is how we calculate. And also, we have this process indices, right? My bad, once again. Process capability indices. You calculate using CP and CPK. CP value should be greater than or equal to 1.66 for you to say that the variation in the process is less. CPK value should be greater than or equal to 1.33 for you to say that the process mean is closer to the target. Why are we doing all these things? Because we want to baseline the current performance, right? And we keep it handy to compare it against the values at a later point of time to check whether we have actually achieved some improvement or not. This brings us to the successful closure of the measure phase. Please look into our analyze phase, improve phase, and control phase, which is about to come. Thank you so much for attending this session. See you in the analyze phase. Bye for now.